Tropical systems persist in the Indian Ocean on tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for November 20th. The tropics are relatively quiet today, with a tropical depression still active moving east of Christmas Island, south of Indonesia. No other systems on the radar right now, at least no fully fledged tropical cyclones. We are still unclassified in terms of our code status on Force 13. Day 173 of Atlantic hurricane season, and the finish line is in sight with just 10 days until the last day of the season. No areas of interest still at this moment in time, and nothing expected in the next 5 days. Is that it? Well, we'll see. In the Eastern Pacific, even quieter on day 190 of hurricane season. No areas of interest to be watching out for at all. So another very quiet area that we can really just mull over and continue the rest of the video with, or something. The Western Pacific, a small area of interest at 10%, still rather disorganized off the coast of Vietnam, and now 60% for a broad area in the Bay of Bengal. It's showing up a decent amount of convection, a little bit of rotation today, so it is on for a possible tropical depression coming soon. And in the southern hemisphere, the only actual tropical cyclone at the moment, 94S, still designated as an invest, currently moving in an eastward direction generally, and is likely to continue in that vein for a little while longer yet. Check some satellite imagery, and this is what the Atlantic looks like today. There's quite a few little storms bursting in the southern Caribbean. You may have noticed a few days ago, and the last couple of days I should say, we've been watching that area down near Nicaragua for potential developments or just a significant rain threat, and that looks like to still be the case right now. The Eastern Pacific looking like this, and you can see there a little line of cloud that's feeding moisture in the southern part of the United States right now, and just a few little systems in the intertropical convergence zone to be looking at. Not much going on right now. Western Pacific, a little shell of a disturbance there in the eastern part of the ocean, and looking further west you can see near Vietnam that flurry of cloud that's still causing a lot of precipitation over the Philippines and over Indochina, and it's probably going to be a big rain event more than anything else again, but still trying to get some convection up, but very little rotation. Indian Ocean, that system looking a lot better. You can start to see a primitive band probably forming there on the northern side, and some decent amounts of convection there in the Bay of Bengal, slowly edging closer to the east coast of India. Look to the Australian region, you might be able to see that tropical depression. It is hard to spot in a sea of other big areas of convection, but it is still there on the left hand side south of Indonesia, and a few other storms blowing into Western Australia and the Northern Territory today. Let's check the sea surface temperatures, currently pushing close to 30 degrees still in one or two spots in the Eastern Pacific, so sea surface temperatures haven't given up in that little spot that might breed late activity. The Atlantic, it's the Western Caribbean that's still high right now at 28-29 degrees Celsius quite easily. Still the outside chance that we might get a late season storm forming over there, and even in the subtropical zones sometimes we can get non-tropical origin systems that end up gaining tropical characteristics, considering sea surface temperatures are above average. Indian Ocean, decent temperatures here, 28 degrees pushing close to 30 where that disturbance is. Down in the southern side, south of Indonesia where that depression is, it's around 28 degrees Celsius. Western Pacific looking decent, pushing close to 30 degrees in one or two spots off the coast of the Philippines, east and west now. And any late season cyclones will have a decent time with sea surface temperatures over there in the Western Pacific. We know how we've been treated in the last 10 years. We've had quite a few late season storms there. Anomalies above average in the West Pac, East Pac not really. The Atlantic above average, particularly in the subtropics there. The tropical zone only a little bit. And in the southern hemisphere, around the Coral Sea actually is well above average at the moment if we're looking for some possible cyclones there in the next few weeks. Oceanic heat content is still bubbling away in the Western Caribbean. That really should be the last chance for a tropical cyclone there. It would be in that area. Eastern Pacific, just a few little bubbles there, and in the Western Pacific we've got quite a bit of warm activity still going on there as well. Eastern Pacific, I think, is pretty much done. Sea surface temperatures don't mean very much when the conditions just aren't there. Check those computer models. This is the GFS up to 5 days, and you can see those two systems with decent rotation. GFS giving them a better ride than it has in previous updates, and both of them might still have a chance of becoming a brief tropical cyclone. The one on the right there, briefly getting tropical storm force winds in the next 24 hours. I guess that will tell everything. Watch out for those ASCAP passes. And in the Indian Ocean there, you can see that broad system. It's a weak one throughout there, and it just about makes landfall in India right at the end of that 5-day loop. There's the depression moving eastwards generally and staying very weak. It's a remnant low by that point, and what's left of it still traceable as it gets a little bit closer to the west coast of Australia. It probably won't get there, but in the next 48 hours it's still got a fleeting chance of getting to tropical storm status and will probably remain a depression for the whole time. Well, let's check the area around the Atlantic again, and this is because of rainfall potential there off the coast of Nicaragua in the next couple of days. You can see there, we saw on the satellite before, that system bringing in a lot of rainfall, and you can see along that southern coast of Nicaragua a lot of rainfall, and up towards the northern part towards the end of that 7-day loop. Maximum rainfall of 16 inches projected there in the southern part of Nicaragua, and that is over 400 millimeters and possibly extending just a little bit into Costa Rica on the southern side as well. All along the eastern coast, looks like there could be a lot of rainfall here in the coming days, and that will certainly be a localized regional flood event, but not tropical cyclone related, we must stress. Getting into the longer range, and this is what we're showing in the Western Pacific right now. What is it? What's going to come out of the blue here? GFS has been hot and cold with things forming in the Western Pacific in the last few weeks really, and there, getting towards the end of that loop, you can see a new system forming and just about getting close to typhoon strength. A quick developer there, way out in the open Western Pacific waters. I don't think there's any land over there. I think it might be just a little bit north of Micronesia. It may still be close to some of those islands, but a system developing there by day 10. Scan the barcode and take a look at the Force 13 merch store. We've still got all of our usuals as well as our full season and individual animations at your request, bespoke, custom made, and still waiting for Hone t-shirts, which will never go out of fashion. In the silly range, this is what we're looking at in the Atlantic. GFS still wants to throw something up, although it's not as bad as what we were looking at in yesterday's update. It now wants a Category 1 hurricane to strike the northern tip of the Yucatan and then swivel back southwards, and very weak system by that point. A short system, but certainly not something that can be entirely ruled out once again. And that's for the 2nd, 3rd day of December, so that's still quite a way out, of course, so we're talking 13, 14 days, but it is getting just that slight bit closer, and we'll keep watching it. Western Pacific, GFS still throwing up this phantom typhoon in the very long range. There it is, getting to typhoon status 2nd, 3rd of December. A tight core and a strong storm there, getting to Category 3 status at least. And then what does it do? It's stalling out there and expanding right at the end of that run. So if that was to happen, it would probably not really affect any land areas. It would continue to probably move slowly northwestwards and die out, as quite a few storms tend to do in the very late season over there in the Western Pacific. It's not far south enough to go straight through the Philippines, so that would be interesting to watch. And down in the Australian region, the GFS also wants another system to form in the Gulf of Carpentaria, a large one and quite a strong one as well. Looks like a Category 2 landfall there on the coast of Australia, so that would be a big bang to the start of the Australian region cyclone season proper in the first days of December. moving around, straggling around the northern, the top end, and then sweeping southwards and southwestwards inland. Interesting. Well, Hurricane Week is now just 8 days away. I'm starting to lose track myself. It's coming up really soon, and we're still working extremely hard to get everything ready. It's going to be a lot of fun, loads of fun stuff and educational stuff in our documentary series, My Top 100, coming up. Meanwhile, on the 20th of November 1992, well, it couldn't look any different than what we have today. 3 major cyclones active right now, and they all had Pacific names, even though they weren't all there. Typhoon Gay was near its peak as an extremely powerful Category 5 storm, that's pictured. Hunt was a Category 4 to the northwest, about to start weakening. And Forrest, a crossover from the western Pacific into the Indian Ocean, had also reached Category 4 status and was about to wham the coast of the Bay of Bengal. I think it was on the northeastern coast that one struck. Incredible to look back at what was active on this day in that year 30 years ago. Back to 2022, which now feels very drab after we've seen that, but I don't mind. The next name in the Atlantic, if we get one, is Owen. In the Eastern Pacific, Seymour, and in the Central Pacific we are still waiting for Hone. In the Western Pacific, the next name is Pakar, and in the North Indian Ocean we've got Mandus coming up. Will it evolve out of this current system? My guess is still no. And in the Southern Hemisphere, the next Australian name is Darian. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, Cheniso, and in the South Pacific, it's Harley. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow night.